Well, hello and welcome to another edition of the Stogie Review Short Ashes. I am Walt White, and I'm back once again to do one of these very abbreviated sort of short reviews. And cigar I got for you this week is the Jameson Cigar Company Black Label. And on my end, there's a terrible glare, so you may not be able to see that band. It might just be showing up as a white blob. In any case, this just happens to be one of the about 3 cigars I had left over from a blind cigar tasting I did over at Kensington Tobacconist in West Reading, which is my local shop. It's been a little while since I've had one of these. Actually, the last one I had, I think, was at that tasting, so it should be pretty interesting to smoke. Just find my cutter here. Alright, let's get started. Before I go cutting my cigar, just kind of looking over it real quick. I've got one medium-sized vein that runs practically the length of the cigar. The color is pretty consistent for the most part. If I hold it up to the light and just rotate the cigar a little bit, I can see little sparkles. It's crystallization. There's a little bit of plume starting to appear in the cigar. It just means that the oils are crystallizing in the cigar, and that it's kept in good condition. And when the oils start crystallizing, when the cigar is kept in good shape. The construction of the cigar looks a little bit rough. When the leaf is stretched out and there's 2 cuts made, there's one along the bottom of the leaf which you don't see when the cigar is rolled. There's one along the top of the leaf which is more of a straight cut. That is the line you see spiraling down the cigar. Generally, what happens is that's cut in one pass, or as close to one pass as possible, and it's supposed to be nice and straight. If you start and stop, sort of rock the cutter like I did the first time I ever rolled a cigar, you get sort of just a jogged appearance, and I can see that in the cigar. There's one step, 2, 3, and then we hit the cap. So there's what look like 3 hesitation marks in the wrap of the cigar. Aside from that, it looks pretty good. The cap doesn't look bad. It looks like it's on just a little bit crooked, but not too bad. It does roll over the shoulder, so there is some cap there. I'm not going to have to worry about the cigar unraveling if I take a little too much material off when I open up the head, and that's always good. Some cigars just seem to be prone to having a very small cap that doesn't really round over the shoulders much, like the Padron Laundress I just reviewed had a very small cap, and what happens is even when you take just a little bit off of the end of the cigar, you end up shearing through one side of the cap, or it starts to pull off, or whatever the case may be, and the cigar starts to unravel. The draw's got a little bit of resistance to it. It's got a little bit of a sweet flavor to it. So I'm going to go ahead and light my cigar, and while I'm doing that, well, you're not going to see any pictures or anything because this is a short ashes review. So sit tight, I'll be right back. We'll get started on the first third of the cigar and see just how the Jameson Black Label goes. Well, welcome back. I'm into the first third of my Jameson Cigar Company Black Label, and I'm back a little earlier than usual because I wanted to show you the foot. You can see it's that I've got a little bit of flowering going on, a little deformation, a little bit of flaking. I know a lot of times I say, you know, the ash is kind of flaking. I guess I have some flowering going on, but I never really take the time to actually show you what exactly is going on with the ash. And as you can see there, it's pulling away, and that is the flowering effect. Aside from this sort of pulling away of the ash, the burning characteristics of the cigar are going very well. Aside from the piece that's pulling away, it's fairly tight. The ash color is consistent. It's sort of got like almost like a powdery white speckling effect to it, which is kind of attractive. Burn line is thin. It's a little wavy. It's relatively straight, however. You know, it's kind of wavy as it goes around the cigar, but when you look at it, it's, you know, there's not a whole lot of variation. It's not sort of up here on one side of the cigar and way down here on the other and sort of straight in between. It's kind of wavy and relatively even. Volume of smoke is good. It doesn't take a whole lot of effort to get any smoke through the cigar. There's a little bit of resistance to it, but it's not really a problem. The smoke density is good. I'm getting lots of flavor out of it. Most notably an earthy flavor and just a rich, like a generic Maduro flavor. You know, I think that's probably a really bad description, but a lot of Maduro cigars just have this sort of generic flavor about them. It's just a standard flavor across the Maduro line. And I think this cigar has a little bit more of it than some of the others that I've smoked. Body is smooth. Finish is smooth. Body is medium at best. I'm not getting a whole lot of mouthfeel out of it. I'm getting a little bit of creaminess, and I've decided to pair it up with a little bit of Imperial Stout, which actually is Storm King by Victory. It's pretty heavy. It's on the bitter side, but it has that very rich, I mean, it's hard to describe. It's a very rich, thick body taste to the beer, and I think it complements the cigar very well. It might actually be a little bit too much for the cigar, but you know, I just enjoy drinking a really dark beer with a dark cigar. I think Stout and Maduros go hand in hand, so that's my pairing. So sit tight. I'll be back for the second third of the Jameson Black Label Maduro, and well, I'll let you know how the cigar goes. Well, welcome back. I'm into the second third of my Jameson Cigar Company Black Label, and you can see that the ash isn't quite flowering or flaking much anymore. It's pretty tight and compact. The burn line the waviness has disappeared for the most part. It's still relatively even. The draw has firmed up a little bit. I'm getting less smoke volume than I was earlier on. The resting smoke is moderate. The burn rate on the cigar seems a little elevated. I don't know whether it's because I'm getting a little bit less smoke now and I'm finding myself pulling on the cigar a little harder, or if the cigar is just naturally burning faster than I'm accustomed to. In the flavor department, there's not a whole lot of change. I'm still getting this this sort of Maduro, generic Maduro flavor, a little bit of earthy flavor, and I'm getting more of a cocoa flavor now. The body is picking up slightly. It's still maybe medium, and the finish is creamy and nice. So far, the cigar is doing pretty well. You know, I think this is one of those cigars that it's still fairly new. It's still a little underrated, or maybe it just doesn't get the attention that it deserves. But you know, I don't see a whole lot of people smoking these, and I can honestly tell you that I've never seen one of these in a store. I've only seen them online through the Jameson Cigar Company website. They have an e-store that you can order them from, but that's the only place I've seen them. I haven't seen them at any e-commerce sites or anything like that, with the exception of the manufacturers. But you know, the cigar is going good. No complaints. Nothing is really standing out and just itching for me to tell you all about it. It's just a good, moderate cigar. You know, I'm pretty happy with it. So sit tight. I'll be back. We'll do the final third, wrap up the cigar, and I'll let you be on your way. Well, welcome back. It's time to cover the last third of my Jameson Cigar Company Black Label. And as you can see, I don't have much flaking going on the ash anymore. There's no more flowering. I've been keeping the ash fairly short for no real particular reason. I just happen to be tapping it in the ashtray whenever it started to grow in any kind of length. I guess inadvertently just doing it so that it didn't make a mess, just in case. Burn line is a little wavy, a little uneven, but you know, it's well within reason. Smoke rate still seems a little fast. For whatever reason, I'm not keeping track of the time like I mentioned earlier. It just seems a little elevated. I'm not noticing much in terms of room aroma, but again, you know, it's kind of difficult to pick up a room aroma in a lot of circumstances because you're sort of marinating in your own smoke when you're smoking in the home. I'm sort of immersed in it, even though I have an air purifier going and whatnot. So it's sort of cleaning the air, even coming in and out of the room. It doesn't quite get you like when you go from clean air to cigar smoke air at a cigar shop or something like that. You know, it's not real easy to distinguish the aromas. It's just sort of there. Smoke volume is a little better now. For whatever reason, it seemed to get a lot denser after I turned the camera off. The draw is a little easier as well. As far as the body is concerned, it's still about medium. It's progressed a little bit. Finish is still creamy and enjoyable. It's smooth. There's no harsh bite to it. It's pretty nice. The bodies haven't, or yeah, the flavors haven't changed up too much. I'm still getting sort of an earthy base with sort of a generic Maduro flavor to it. A little bit of spice, a little bit of pepper, even a little bit of a cocoa flavor. All in all, it's pretty enjoyable. It's a little too light to pair up with the Imperial Stout. The beer is just a little too bitter, so it really kind of knocks the cigar down a peg. I had to sort of transition away from that a little bit, and the cigar seemed to become a little more vibrant once my palate sort of rested from the beer and I switched over to water. No, there weren't any real exciting flavors to it, but there were a lot of just sort of mellowed out, nice, smooth flavors, if that makes any sense at all. There wasn't anything that really overpowered anything else. It was just sort of a nice mingling of flavors. Fairly straightforward and easy to notice or to pick up. And all in all, you know, I like these cigars. They're, I don't remember what they were exactly. I think they were like $5.75 a piece for the Robusto online. You know, personally, I'd probably like to see them a little bit cheaper, maybe $5 a piece. But even at $5.75, I really can't argue. They're a solid cigar. They're enjoyable. I haven't had a really bad one. The construction bothers me a little bit. Seeing sort of a wavy top cut in that spiraling seam down the cigar. You know, those are just some of the things that I don't know. Maybe I'm nitpicking, but I like to see a smooth cut. I don't want to see starting and stop marks. You know, little jagged rips here and there. The color variation was little. You know, it was fairly consistent from head to foot. It felt like it was packed well, like the bunch was good. There weren't any soft spots or spongy spots as I was smoking. I was giving a little pinch here and there. So construction-wise, the appearance was the only downside. You know, there were no real like construction flaws. They were just sort of cosmetic. And you know, the flavors were sound. So all in all, I enjoyed it. I'd recommend trying them if you have the opportunity. So there you have it. Until next week, Babby Smoking.